right, she blinded me. 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Friday morning. It's Friday. You hear that music. It's in time to have a fun conversation. Jim George always brings some fun to these airwaves, and we all love our TVs. We all love everything electronic, I guess. Jim is here, of course, to answer your questions about your electronics. He's the owner of American Cable Services. He knows his stuff, and he'll tell you about what they can offer you from American Cable Services during the course of the show. And your phone calls are important, so give us a call right now. Jim will answer your questions. 622-9622 is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
Where are you? Yeah, now it's Jim.
Okay.
Now I hear you. So here's a trend I was reading about this morning. People starting their own little TV shows in their own little apartments, their own little rooms. Everybody's got a TV station now.
Yes.
An internet TV station.
Yes.
What's that about? I mean, is that just one of these little cameras?
That's it.
That's what they're doing?
Yeah, that's right.
Does anybody really watch them?
Oh, yeah. You can. You know how when you see a viral thing on YouTube where you had 1 million people watched it?
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing. What happens is they do the Facebook thing and the YouTube thing, and they say, watch me. You know, I'm on from 6 in the morning, let's say to 7 in the morning before I go to work or something. And then there are a lot of aggregators now that are taking that 1 hour and then your 1 hour and the other guy's 1 hour and making a 24-hour channel out of it.
Are they selling ads? Are they making money from it?
They're actually selling ads, so you can do it any way you want to. But right now they're starting out, everything is free. I mean, it's more comical, you know, the wannabes. The guy who wants to be a comedian, the guy who wants to be whatever.
Well, it makes sense, yeah.
And then a lot of do-it-yourself stuff, how to fix your brakes and those kind of things.
That sounds more like a YouTube video than a regularly scheduled TV show, though.
Well, it's everything. That's the bottom line. It's whatever you want to do.
Wow.
Just whatever you want to do.
Now, through American Cable Services, or would people do that kind of thing? I mean, how would a company like yours work with somebody like that?
Yeah, we would create a community affairs channel, for lack of a better name, and then people like you and Robin might say, "Okay, well, I've got 4 hours in the morning. I want to put my 4 hours on." So,
4 hours, wow.
Well, let's say from 7 to noon.
That's huge, yeah.
Right? And then you would have 4 hours, and then I would have the other 20 hours, let's say, empty, and then somebody else might come along. Say, well, I'd like to have an hour of that. And so what happens, we fill up, 5 hours, then 10 hours, and eventually we have a 24-hour day channel.
Oh, I like that.
No, the ones I was watching looked amateur.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so does that not discourage, but that dissuade viewers? I mean, do the viewers say, look at this on ABC and look at this at, homegrown TV or whatever you call it?
Now, I was just talking to Joe this morning early that it's actually better. People are getting discouraged by the coat and ties and the people.
Oh, really?
And people, I mean, it's like your TV to the world here, the window.
Right.
People like to watch the home drums thing, like Mountain 18 in Boone, North Carolina. They have the green walls where they inject, things like the forest, and then they might have the guy who does the what do you call it? The RV park where you park in the forest, behind, in front of it, talking. But when it goes to, let's say, setting up the screen and getting down on it, you have all the mistakes and everything. People like to see the home stuff.
Yeah, I do too. I'm with them.
So they would like to just see you and Robin, let's say.
Making mistakes.
Yeah.
Well, picking up the paper, moving this
Spilling
over.
my coffee.
Yeah, picking up spilled coffee. And so that's what they want now. They're tired of the canned, you might say, segment of an hour. I mean, I just came back from the TV Technology Leadership Summit in Fort Lauderdale, and everybody that's a broadcaster, Fox, ABC, NBC, all the big wigs were there.
Right.
And the whole subject, of course, was technology and where are we going with it. And I was just telling Joe that the FCC forced the high-power broadcasters to go digital. Well, in a TV spectrum, each channel is 6 megahertz wide. I'm going to lose some people out there. But really only 4.5 of it's used. The rest of the information on both sides is to keep one TV channel from interfering with another. So that's called a band guard. Right. So they're only using 4.5. But when they went digital, they only used 2. And even if they're having a channel 5.1, well, let's say 51, 51.1, 51.2, they're still only using up 3 megahertz. So the FCC is going to force the broadcasters to give up that other megahertz, and they're going to sell it to cell towers. And that way cell towers can get all the bandwidth and all the frequency so that 5G can come around.
Oh, okay.
Because 5G is in Japan right now. And all the G stands for is the 5th generation.
Oh, okay.
The 4th generation.
That was my next question, actually. What does that mean?
Okay. Yeah. So the 5th generation of it. So you think you have all these features with 4G? Wait till 5G comes out. Unbelievable.
Are the large broadcasters going to partner with somebody like yourself? Because they might feel threatened by that.
Well, they are threatened. That's what the whole leadership conference was about, was the way the sunshine rules, read, you really can't do a lot of things behind closed doors. In other words, broadcasters can't get together and fight this because they have to do it openly. So, but they said you could create a steering group to steer the conversation in one direction, or an advisory group, and that could be made up of individual broadcasters, and then they could study what would the effects be if they lowered or gave up that bandwidth. And so they were all talking about it, that the FCC is going to force them to give up this bandwidth. So a lot of broadcasters have actually decided to come off of the air and go internet only.
Wow.
So if you want Channel 2 out of Orlando, you can get their full power, and you get it internet only, let's say.
And now there's this ad for, is it Prism TV, where the ad says you can watch the programming on any device?
Yeah.
Is that available everywhere?
That's what it's called, TV everywhere.
Okay. So I could take out my phone, for example, if I was in a McDonald's and had a Wi-Fi. Oh no, a phone has is automatically connected, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that?
Well, you can do it. You can set it for automatic connection. In mine, I have it turned off. In other words, I don't use the Wi-Fi connection.
Okay, but could you use that anywhere? Could you be in the middle of a desert and actually get the internet?
Well, only if there was a cell tower within reach.
Right, of course.
In other words, it's not satellite phone; it's cell phone.
Right.
They do make satellite phones, but they're big and bulky.
Which is what was in the FedEx package on the Tom Hanks movie. Castaway. That was the joke. That was a joke from the director. Somebody said to him, what was in the package that he did not open? And he said it was a satellite phone. In other words, he could have asked for help 4 years ago.
Oh, boy. Unbelievable.
So when you go to a conference like that, who do you speak with on an individual basis?
I had some great conversations. I met with a gentleman from Trinidad, and he was there from Channel 4 Trinidad. It's a government channel in the sense that the government owns it. It's not a government channel in the sense they only do like the Marion County does here with
a school board.
Yeah, and so he does all the cultural things, very little sports, but Mardi Gras is going on in Trinidad right now. Trinidad's a big carnival going on, and he says they film all that and they do all the behind scenes, how the masks are made and everything, and but they have no outlet. I mean, they only cover half the island. And I said to him, well, if I could give you a box and you will stream your channel to me. When you stream it to me, then I can offer the Trinidad channel to anybody in the world.
Oh, wow.
Plus, I can offer it back to you on the other side of the mountain where your broadcast doesn't operate.
Gosh, cool.
So what happened is now, if there's people on the other side of the mountain, because there's like a mountain range in Trinidad,
right?
He can just say, hey, if you want to watch our channel, here's a box, put it to your internet, and you can watch it.
So this is something, you're actually working with the nation, it's a nation, right? Trinidad is a
right.
You're actually working with them, huh?
Yeah, we're working with I've been there about 13 times, and
really?
I know all the government officials and everything, and so when I met him and we started talking, he said, oh, you know Mr. Pillai? And I said, yeah. He said, oh, yeah, he's, and we started talking, and he said, I'm going to go back and suggest to them that we start streaming our channel to you.
Nice.
And then there are 4 cable systems on the island, and basically when I start streaming that back, some of the cable systems will take that channel.
Really?
Right now they have to microwave it over the top of the mountain.
But they have to send it to you here in Ocala in order for they couldn't do that themselves?
When I say send it to me, I give them a box that allows them to stream it on the internet. And but it has to be secure. It can't be just open. Because when you encrypt something and compress it, The only way you can watch it is if you unencrypt it. In other words, you need a box to uncompress it and unencrypt it. You don't want to send it in its raw state because it's too big a file. It's like you trying to send a big file to somebody else. You use zip, right? And you zip it closed, and then you send it, and then they unzip it. Well, that's the same thing as encoding and decoding. So it's really interesting.
And because you offer all the other television channels and all, it's more likely that people from your cable service will watch it as opposed to them just putting it up on the internet as another internet.
I mean, like even right now, you guys might not be interested in watching Channel 4 Trinidad, but when Carnival comes around, and they're doing all the steel drums, and he shows in his videos, because he videotapes all this stuff, how they make the steel drums and how they tune the steel drums. And then there are concerts going on where it's not just the carnival type music, they call it jump music, not junk, but jump.
Right.
They actually play Mozart and all symphonies on the steel drum.
Oh, wow.
And he was saying, you ought to hear it, it's gorgeous. And I said,
I'm glad you went in that direction. I thought you were going to say Larry would like it because there's lots of pretty women in there.
Oh, there are some pretty women in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some islands that you swear they kill everybody over 35. I mean, you walk down and everything's just gorgeous. And you go, where are the old people?
That's right. They're
at the mall.
Stuffed in a closet.
Unbelievable.
They're at the mall.
Yeah, some gorgeous people.
So you go down there a lot, huh?
I have in the past. I haven't been down to the Trinidad in about 8 years now, but I've been to Aruba. I've been everywhere in the world except Asia. I've been to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I've been to Alaska and Japan once, but
that's Asia. Japan.
Most of Europe. I know, but I haven't been to. Well, I've been to China once. So.
Oh yeah, you've been to China. You've been to Asia.
Yeah.
You've officially.
But
been
I spend
to
a
Asia.
ton of time in the Caribbean because my work sends me down for government officials to talk to me about cable TV or satellite towers or whatever.
Wow. So if we get something right now to do a TV show with you, what would we need? I mean, I asked you, I know at the beginning, but is that absolutely all we need? Is that little webcam thing?
Yeah, I actually found a box at the show that I was telling Joe, he would be very interested. Like, let's assume you had 4 cameras in here and you.
So why don't we do that? Why don't we take this show and put it on the...
Well, that's what we want to do. That's what we want to do. As soon as we launch, we want to have the WOCA channel.
All right.
But right now, the technology has it where you would have to fade in one camera or take one camera. So, like, if someone was speaking further down at the end of the table, you would turn that camera on, and then if I spoke...
I could do that.
Right. Well, now they have a box
you can do that.
that's voice sensitive. It ties the voice
It does
to the camera
automatically.
So you tie that camera to that mic and this camera to that mic, and whenever he speaks, it switches automatically.
That's what they do with the school board. You've watched the school board meetings,
Yes.
I'm sure, on TV, and obviously, I don't know how they do it. Do you? Do you know how they do it?
Well, it's been a while since I've been to the school board meetings.
So they have close-ups of each individual school board member,
Right.
and sometimes close-ups of like the John Q. Public standing up to speak.
Right.
But it almost seems like sometimes I'll be watching it and I'll hear a person, but I'll see that distant view.
Yeah.
And I'll say, why don't they put the close-up camera on? So maybe there's somebody not pushing a button. Or
That's
something.
it. Yeah, there's a console. I've been there where there's a console in the back and someone's fading in and fading out or turning on or turning off. And that would be the same thing you would have here.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday we went to the Guitar Center because we got a drum machine.
Yeah.
Which has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But what does have to, but what does connect to what we're talking about is they had a mixing board there, and I had never seen a mixing board like this before. All it is a series of little square switches about the size of a Scrabble piece.
Yep.
And it's just a whole board full of those things. And I said to the guy, "How does it work?" He says, "I don't know. We haven't tried it yet." But I mean, technology is always changing, I guess, is the point. And
all brand new.
Mixing boards in audio are probably not that different from a mixing board in a TV studio, I would think.
Yeah, probably so. But you could go very small, like I said, 4 cameras, and you would fade in and out, one of the 4, at a time. The problem is that the camera was on me. As soon as I stopped, Robin talked, you'd have to bring my camera down and the other camera. The new technology, it does it automatically. As soon as it senses a voice coming from that mic, it switches right over to that video camera.
Wow. That
Really
is
neat.
amazing.
Wow. And you have a phone call, looks like.
Thank you.
Let's take that call. Good morning. You're on the air with Jim George.
Yes, good morning, Mr. George and everybody. See, all of us people that have satellite, and we have our dishes that are pointed up in the sky on a fixed satellite, which rotates at the same speed as the Earth, so it's stationary. These eventually wear out or become no good anymore. What do? Do they put up another satellite that's right next to it or somewhere near it, and then do we have to adjust our dishes eventually?
Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. In other words, if the look angle is like 101 degrees, like DirecTV has 5 satellites in the sky right now, and that's why you can buy a dish called a Slim 5. What it does, it looks at all 5 satellites simultaneously, and they're at different look angles, the 99 degrees in the sky, 101 in the sky, and so on and so forth. But if one of those satellites was going weak, they would launch another satellite, and they would put it right behind that satellite, so that in essence they would just turn the first one off.
Really?
And the second one would take over the programming, and it would still be up there dark, or they could actually aim it towards the sun and just send it off.
About how long do the satellites last?
Not long. I would say 5 to 10 years max.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So basically speaking, you don't really have to worry about adjusting your dish then. That's kind of if you have direct, then it's just kind of taken care of.
That's the best answer, but what happens is the satellites wobble in the sky. They form a figure 8. So if the guy comes and sets up your antenna and he aims for the satellite and gets the highest signal rating, when the satellite is right in the center of where your dish was aimed, you get the optimum signal level. When it's over to one of the elliptical sides of the wobble, you might go down from a 100% signal level to like an 80% signal level. But the dish in general never needs to be aimed again. Now, once it's aimed, the elliptical is all taken into consideration. The smaller the dish, the larger area you can see in the sky. The larger the dish, the smaller area you can see in the sky.
Wow. Wouldn't have thought that.
So when you see these big dishes, like we have 15-foot dishes, they pinpoint one satellite alone. And when you have the smaller dishes, they can look at 5 satellites. In other words, it's a sloppy way of doing it, but it looks at 5 satellites or 4 satellites at the same time.
And it looks neater in your yard, too.
Yeah.
Are those satellites designed to, when they wear out, to burn out and crash to Earth and burn out on the way on entry?
Yeah, they mostly always burn off into entry, but they have the option of sending them off into the sun now, so they burn up there.
Okay, very good program, and thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, in the old radio, we used to get these announcements now and then from the satellite companies saying we're turning off satellite whatever, and your new signal will come from satellite whatever.
Right.
And here are the coordinates to turn your big dish antenna toward whatever.
Right.
And I can remember those days, and I don't know, do we still do it? Because I don't do it anymore.
I still do it.
Dan does all that stuff. So
we get notices all the time that even DirecTV will say CNN will no longer be available on the 101 satellite. It'll only be available on the 111 satellite. So instead of having your receiver tune to 384, tune your receiver to 550, because I'm looking at both satellites. Or it may say you need another dish. I mean, when you sign up with them, they know what you're looking at, and then they come and tell you what to change.
Well, and just to clarify, we have had engineers that would help Robin and I. But we went through a few years with no engineer. We could have used you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I remember getting those notices and going, oh my goodness, we got to turn that big antenna outside. And literally, one of us would go outside and turn the antenna, and and the other one would be inside listening or sometimes watching.
Right.
And yelling out through the door, okay,
Stop.
you got it. And then we would literally take a nail, because the thing was rusty,
Right.
Yeah.
and we would scratch into the rust where it needed to be pointed at,
Yes.
just so that we wouldn't, in case the wind blew it, God forbid,
Exactly.
Yeah, we could do it again.
By the way, according to my calendar, the on this date calendar that Robin's daughter gave me, on this date, 1983, ESPN televised the first live professional football game on cable.
Wow.
And now look where we are. 83 is not that long ago, really.
Now, the founder of ESPN was right here in Ocala, right?
No.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Ed Egan and 2 other friends of his. One was an attorney in Connecticut, and I forget the other gentleman's name. They actually wrote a book called Sports Junkie. They did everything in their power to launch ESPN.
Wow.
And they mortgaged their homes, they sold their cars, they did everything to try and stay alive during this time to get someone to approve a 24-hour-a-day sports channel, ESPN. And at the last minute, when one guy was going to lose his house because he hadn't paid his mortgage in 6 months or more,
Wow.
J. Paul Getty from Texaco said, okay, I will buy the rights to ESPN, and I will give you guys each 5 shares. And but you cannot cash those shares for 5 years. And when 5 years was up, they each cashed those shares for $1 million a share.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Wow.
And were they doing it from here?
They were doing it from Ocala. The uplink was actually over by the airport in Ocala.
Gosh.
The very first one.
I didn't know that. And the actual, what you saw on TV, where was the studio? Was that here too?
It was coming from out of New York, and what would happen is we would do the sports events here. We started off with the horse racing and things like that, the breeders' things here, and then we would send it by satellite up, and they would pull it down in New York. But New York was also broadcasting Madison Square Garden, New England Sports Channel, and so all ESPN was a consolidator. They would pick up all the different sports. They would decide which one they wanted to rebroadcast, and they would rebroadcast it. And then they went ESPN2, and then they went USPN Classic. So, and then they started doing their own.
Now, was Steve Egan related to Ed Egan?
Ed Egan is who it was.
But did he have a brother or?
Oh, I don't know if he had a brother or not.
Okay. Because we worked with Steve Egan, who
Yeah.
did sports.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he's still doing sports.
Still does sports for the Florida News.
Florida News Network. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what he's with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when Bernie Dickman and Roseanne Mayer were heavy into the horse industry here.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they would come on the other station we worked at to do all the horse reports and things.
Right,
and
right.
The races. And they were really two nice people.
Yes,
Wonderful people.
yes.
So, do you
Bernie and
like the
Roseanne.
idea of people doing the homegrown TV thing? Or
Oh yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, it's like being a voyeur. You get to look into their living room, you know? and
Yeah.
you know, the thing is, it's too much like Facebook right now, where they show you everything. You know, you probably I'm not a Facebook person. I've never used it. My wife does, and she'll say when you follow someone, they tell you everything. I'm driving down the road now. I'm having breakfast now. Yeah, nobody wants to know all that. You know.
Yeah, right.
But
right,
on a
right.
video, it's almost like a sitcom, because you can show you can actually show, let's say, a half an hour of your children getting ready for school and all the things that go through, and the spilled milk and the cereal, you know, and so it creates a little relief from your own life to watch other people's lives, you know.
You know, when you talked about people actually enjoying somebody who's not in a tie behind a desk with the highly
Right.
polished presentation that you're familiar with.
Yes.
That's almost the formula for success for Saturday Night Live. That was almost like what they were trying to do there, was
Yeah.
to make it seem like these young kids took over NBC
Yeah.
for a couple of hours, right?
Right.
That was the original.
Very
idea.
interesting. Now and that will get more and more and more, and then but technology has just done so much for creativity, you might say.
So now I have a question for you as somebody who's actually in the TV business. When a TV show is successful, it usually makes a lot of money. You don't have just one channel; you have every channel. So does it trickle down to you?
No, not really. As a matter of fact, we are trying to be in the business of not selling programming. We want to be in the business of distributing programming. So that the clear, fine difference is, if you already have, if you live in an apartment complex, and that apartment complex already has 40 channels, but those channels are analog, and you watch them on, and here you bought a high-def TV. I would deliver those same channels to you in high def. There'll be no charge for that other than the rental of the box. I'm just the distributor of it.
Wow.
Now, if you wanted other channels that apartment complex did not sell, then that's when I would come in and say, okay, I will sell you the Trinidadian channel or the Aruba channel.
Well, you get a hold of me when that starts, because I want to see Carnival. I do want to learn about the steel drums.
Yep.
I have no interest at all in tiny little
Yeah.
bathing suits. It's more about the steel drums for
And
me,
feathers.
as you know. I mean, you know, I'm
Purely
Believe it.
professional.
I'm a straight-laced kind of a guy.
Yeah.
That's right.
Jim, how do we get a hold of you?
Oh, yeah. You locally, 854-9795.
And call us here at WOCA if you need Jim's number repeated. And your website?
Website is Amera Cable. That's America with BLE on the end, so it spells Amera Cable americable.us.
There you go, americable.us.
All right.
Always fun, Jim. Thank you
Bye
for
now.
doing this with us. We'll take a little break and be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. A mixed jobs report for February. The Labor Department says the economy added 175,000 jobs, more than analysts expected, but the overall unemployment rate edged up 0.1% to 6.7. The internet is making the brick-and-mortar store obsolete. The latest store closures announced by Radio Shack and Staples are just the first waves of what experts say will be a tsunami of store closures this year. The IRS says the average American tax refund will amount to just over $3,000, but few, 1 in 5, plans to splurge. Skin cancer could be a sign of worse things to come. A study finds people diagnosed with it have a 36% higher risk of getting other cancers later. The risk is even higher for those diagnosed before age 25. Fresh from her stint as a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, Barbie is causing controversy again by teaming up with the Girl Scouts to offer a badge with the slogan, "Be anything, do everything." A child advocacy group says using Barbie as a role model idealizes an impossible body type and undermines the Girl Scouts' vital mission. This is ABC News.
Okay, you ready? I'm gonna let go of the bike now.
Wait, not yet, Dad.
No, just keep pedaling. You've got it.
Don't let go, don't let go.
There are moments in life that cause us to hesitate.
I already did. You're doing it.
Woohoo! I'm doing it.
But once we take action, we're awfully glad we did. Markets are changing, and interest rates are still low. If you're thinking about getting into the real estate market, now may be the time to make your move. Every market's different. Call a Realtor today and visit Realtor.com. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Do you know what that sound is? That's your new digital marketing department. And that'll be your new web designer. And that's Haibu, where these experts are joined by many more, from web designers to search marketing specialists, who work hard to get your business noticed online and on mobile. Best of all, Haibu can do